In a remote corner of the country stands a prison unlike any other, a facility dedicated to rehabilitation rather than mere punishment. Within its imposing walls, men and women from diverse backgrounds face the unsettling truths of their pasts. This documentary audiobook invites listeners to peer behind the bars, delving deep into the emotional tapestry woven by the lives of 5 inmates. Each individual carries their own story, the weight of choices made and consequences faced, but together they navigate the complex landscape of incarceration. As they wrestle with guilt, hope, and the search for redemption, the innovative programs within the prison begin to bloom. The rhythms of daily life coexist with moments of introspection, creating a unique atmosphere where vulnerability meets strength. Their journeys are not isolated, rather, they lay the groundwork for interconnected lives, setting the stage for the profound transformations that will unfold. With each turn of phrase, listeners will discover that healing can emerge even in the most challenging environments. Carlos the artist Reyes stepped into the stark confines of the prison, a world far removed from the vibrant streets where he once painted his dreams. Once celebrated for his graffiti art that breathed life into forgotten corners, his descent into drug trafficking shattered the canvas of his existence. Inside these walls he felt lost, until he discovered an art therapy program, a lifeline that reignited his passion. As he picked up a brush, it became more than a tool. It transformed into a means of expression. Slowly, colors began to flow from his fingertips, revealing the unspoken stories of his past, the struggles, the joys, and the haunting regrets. With each stroke, Carlos confronted the turmoil within, allowing art to speak the emotions he had long buried. In this newfound sanctuary, he sought not only forgiveness from others, but also from himself, awakening a desire for purpose in a place defined by despair. Carlos stepped into the art therapy room for the first time, a mix of anxiety and hope churning within him. The stark white walls felt cold, yet the colorful supplies beckoned invitingly. His nervousness faded as he picked up a brush, the familiar weight igniting a spark of creativity. As he painted, each stroke on the canvas transformed not only the stark emptiness before him, but also the chaos in his mind. Carlos poured his soul into vibrant depictions of life on the streets, graffiti murals emerging from the depths of his memories, capturing both beauty and pain. Through art therapy, he began to untangle the web of guilt that had long imprisoned him, revealing layers of vulnerability that he had buried deep. Inviting others to see his world, Carlos not only sought forgiveness, but also discovered a newfound purpose, igniting hope within himself and inspiring others around him. Maya Patel sat in the dim light of her cell, pen trembling in her hand as she began to write in the diary she had been gifted during orientation. It was a lifeline, a way to untangle the web of guilt and shame that wrapped around her heart after the accident that had taken a life. Each entry dug deeper into her remorse, exposing the raw wounds of her regret as she relived that fateful night. Words poured out like a release valve, capturing her feelings of despair and longing for atonement. As she penned her thoughts, she grappled with the reality of her confinement. The haunting silence of the prison weighed heavy on her mind, yet within that solitude she found clarity. Engaging in group therapy sessions opened new avenues for reflection, enabling her to see the parallels in her story and those of the other inmates, each a prisoner of their past, yet yearning for redemption. Maya found solace in the prison's writing program, a beacon of hope amid her guilt. Each day she entered the dimly lit classroom, clutching her worn notebook like a lifeline. Her early entries were raw, filled with anguish and regret, pouring out her heart onto pages that seemed to absorb her pain. With each prompt, her writing began to evolve. She transformed her sorrow into reflection, revealing layers of her psyche that had long been buried. She penned stories not just of remorse but of resilience, exploring her motivations, fears, and the haunting echoes of that fateful night. As her words grew more profound, so did her connections with other inmates, who resonated with her struggles. Together, they formed a tapestry of shared experiences, discovering that vulnerability could ignite healing. In those moments of transparency, Maya learned that the power of storytelling could not only release shackles, but also forge bonds that would last beyond those prison walls. Jamal the Scholar Thompson, steps into the spotlight. A young man once filled with dreams, now grappling with the weight of his past. Born and raised in a neighborhood rife with systemic challenges, Jamal's early aspirations of becoming a lawyer were overshadowed by the seductive lure of gang life. With a deep sigh, he recounts the pivotal moment when his life spiraled into chaos, a split-second decision leading to a crime that would alter his future. Behind bars, the stark contrast of his dreams and reality becomes painfully clear. Yet, within the prison's walls, Jamal finds purpose. He immerses himself in education, poring over books and engaging in discussions about the very justice system that ensnared him. His passion for learning morphs into a profound desire to advocate for change, empowering fellow inmates to reclaim their identities. Jamal's journey underscores the belief that knowledge, when shared, can inspire hope and foster transformation. Jamal's transformation from a troubled youth to a beacon of hope for his fellow inmates begins when he realizes the power of education. With a hunger for knowledge ignited during his confinement, he takes the lead in organizing discussions about criminal justice reform, drawing on his own experiences as well as the systemic issues that trapped him in a cycle of poverty and gang involvement. Each week, he invites others to share their stories, turning the designated room into a space of learning and healing. As the inmates exchange ideas, Jamal witnesses firsthand the empowerment that knowledge can provide. Stories of resilience overflow, and through his leadership, he nurtures a sense of community and purpose among those who once felt invisible. The camaraderie deepens, inspiring Jamal to believe in a future where he and his peers can reclaim their identities, reminding them that despite their pasts, they possess the power to shape their destinies. Evelyn Evie Grant sits on the edge of her cot, pen trembling in hand as she drafts yet another letter to her children. The prison walls feel like a fortress of regret, but her love reaches beyond the cold steel. In her heartfelt words, she paints pictures of family dinners and laughter, desperately trying to bridge the immense distance between them. Evie's thoughts swirl with the knowledge that her mistakes have caused pain, yet her letters pulse with hope. Each message is an attempt to reassure her children that their mother will change, to remind them that they are always in her heart, despite the bars that separate them. During weekly family connection programs, she finds solace among fellow mothers, sharing their fears and dreams, knitting bonds of support. These moments become vital threads in the fabric of their lives, as they inspire one another to keep reaching for their children, reminders that love can endure even the harshest of conditions. Evelyn Evie Grant flips through the letters she has sent home, each one a testament to her enduring love for her children. The paper is worn but reflects her heart, filled with messages of hope and reassurance. In a recent family program, she spoke to other mothers in similar situations, sharing the unique challenges of nurturing relationships from behind bars. Together, they leaned into vulnerability, exchanging stories of joy and regret, creating a sisterhood that transcends their confinement. The longing to reunite with her children fuels her determination. Each letter is not merely a communication. It's a lifeline, bridging the gap between the prison walls and their lives outside. They become vessels of love and encouragement amidst despair, as Evie paints vivid pictures of a future where they're together again. In those moments, she understands that maintaining family bonds, even from within the confines of a prison, is an act of resilience, propelling her on her journey toward redemption. Ronald Ronnie Smith often sat in the dim light of his small cell, reflecting on the single, impulsive act that had steered his life into chaos. That moment of rage left him to confront not only his soul, but also the enormity of the consequences that followed. Anger had once been his armor, shielding him from vulnerability, but it slowly morphed into a prison of its own. Through heartfelt conversations with a volunteer chaplain, Ronnie began to unravel the tangled emotions that had bound him. Their dialogues often wandered into the territory of forgiveness, where Ronnie grappled with the concept of letting go. Each session became a small step toward understanding that true peace begins internally, and that liberating himself from bitterness was essential for redemption. As he shared these revelations with other inmates, a flicker of hope ignited within him, a yearning to not just survive, but to thrive beyond the walls of his past. Ronald Ronnie Smith often found himself reflecting on the rage that had led to his sentence, grappling with both bitterness and the desperate need for inner peace. Within the confines of the prison, he felt trapped not only by physical walls, but by the weight of his past. It wasn't until he began meeting regularly with a volunteer chaplain that his perspective began to shift. Their conversations delved deep into the intricacies of forgiveness, challenging Ronnie to confront not only his actions, but also the hurt he had caused. Through shared discussions about spirituality and the struggle for redemption, Ronnie started to see a flicker of hope. He realized that understanding forgiveness was not about excusing his past, but about unburdening his future. As he engaged with fellow inmates in meaningful dialogue, Ronnie discovered that true transformation often begins with acceptance of oneself and of the paths we all travel toward healing. As the weeks passed, the bonds between Carlos, Maya, Jamal, Evie, and Ronnie deepened, transforming their shared space into a sanctuary of understanding and empathy. In moments of vulnerability, they leaned on one another, sharing laughter and tears amid the harsh realities of prison life. Carlos often showcased his art, a visual representation of their struggles and triumphs, which resonated deeply with his fellow inmates. Maya would read excerpts from her diary, echoing the pain and hope that each of them faced. Jamal took the lead in group discussions, sparking conversations that revealed shared dreams of redemption and the desire to remake their lives. Evie's letters home became a catalyst for emotional connections, not just with her children but among the group. Ronnie, once isolated in his bitterness, began to share his journey toward forgiveness, realizing that their stories were not just individual tales of despair, but interconnected threads of hope. As their individual stories unfold, the inmates begin to experience the profound impact of the innovative rehabilitation programs available within the prison. Educators and therapists dedicated to fostering change create a nurturing environment that encourages both self-exploration and growth. Jamal's educational discussions not only empower him but also ignite a thirst for knowledge among his peers. He witnesses fellow inmates transform their perspectives on life. Meanwhile, Carlos's art therapy sessions become a refuge for those struggling to articulate their emotions, with creativity serving as a bridge to healing. Evie's participation in family programs reminds everyone of the importance of connection, fueling their motivation for change. Through shared experiences in group therapy and workshops, they learn that the path to redemption is not a solitary journey, but one enriched by the collective strength and support of those surrounding them. This supportive network becomes a catalyst for transformation, reaffirming their belief in the possibility of a brighter future.